What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Maker's Vault. On today's episode, we are going to be diving into the topic of trade shows.
Trade shows.
Trade shows, are they worth it? What's the value? Should you go? Should you not go? As always, with me is my lovely co-host, my dad, Willie. Dad, you excited to talk about trade shows today?
I am. It's like I haven't talked about trade shows enough in my life. But yes, I'm excited to talk about trade shows. It's a $1 million question. Should you attend or should you not attend?
It is. And before we dive into the episode, I just want to remind everybody, if you could please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really helps support this series and gets really good information out to the industry. All right, let's do it. So
Okay.
let's start with the evolution of trade shows. I know we've talked about this before. It's obviously still a technology event, but what are the trends that you have seen over the years going to trade shows for the last 30 years?
There's so many things in our industry that have changed a lot over the years, but I gotta say trade shows is probably one of them that is very similar today than the objective of the trade show is very similar today of when it always was. I think customers look at the trade show events a little bit different. When I started out, you'd see a company send 5, 6, 7 people.
Yeah.
From a entry-level trainee person that's going for an education to machine operators to go for a field trip and some education, all the way up to management and owners. And I think definitely over the years, I think the numbers are lower, which probably causes people to pause whether or not they should attend or not, or at least be a contributing factor to their decision. But the quality of the people that go to the trade shows, the major trade shows in our industry, I think is better than it's ever been. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I feel like there's more trade shows now every year than there used to be.
Well, and again, that's another challenge people are always thinking about. Which ones do I attend? Because there's the regional shows. Companies like ours like to host their own shows or open houses, and then you've got the major trade shows. But I think that it really depends what you're building, what you're selling, and what your objectives are, where your region's at. You got to kind of set a budget, and you got to pick the ones that are going to be most applicable to your products or services, and go with it. But you certainly can't attend them all. One thing that has changed that I didn't mention is the cost of the trade shows. Right? The cost of the trade shows certainly has changed. But again, it's there's a responsibility on both sides of the equation, exhibitor-wise and customer-wise, to choose wisely where you exhibit, what you show, and the customers are who you're sending. So
I also think it's interesting, too, about during IMTS years, IMTS is like the only trade show. And then on the off years of IMTS, there's South Tech, East Tech, Houston Tech, Fab Tech, PMTS, Automate. I mean, I think Automate's every year now. But it's like bang, 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 all the open house. I mean, our customers are so busy during that year marketing for a lot of these companies. Sales guys, I mean, we're probably spending, we spend tons of time on the marketing side. I know marketing all the events. It's like, I mean, my MTS is huge, obviously. Everybody's going to go, but it's funny how all of their shows kind of shy away from doing it that year.
Well, you need to shy away from it because customers will have the opinion, if I'm going to Chicago in September, I really don't need to go to South Tech in Greenville in October.
Yeah.
So you gotta have them spaced out like that, but the poor customers have to on the odd numbered years, they sure have a lot of decisions to make where to go and exhibitors of where to exhibit, to your point. Yeah.
But so now getting into it more so on the trade show side. So let's start with the exhibitor side. Some people say worth it, some people say it's not. But what we want to talk about to start is, what is the responsibility, do you think, of the exhibitor to make the best out of the show?
Yeah, I'll say it again because I think it is really important that there is two sides to the show equation, and most people just look at it from the customer side. But from the exhibitor side, your question, there's a big responsibility there too. We sit down and we talk a lot about what region. People do different type of work in different type of regions. You got to try to, as an exhibitor, make sure you're bringing your wares, you're promoting your products. You don't go fishing where there's no fish, right? So you got to align your technology and products and services with the show that you decide to attend.
Sure.
aside from that, you got to make sure you're bringing the right equipment. You're demoing the right types of parts that customers from your region are going to recognize and associate with maybe how you could help them. So, I mean, and then your booth, right? Your booth style.
That matters.
It matters a lot. I mean, you see it, and in your 5 years, you go to IMTS, and some people say this show sucks. Nobody's been here. I haven't gotten half the leads, and then the other guy says the show's been fantastic. I think a lot of it has to do with exhibitor responsibility. Maybe you're exhibiting at a show that you're only catering to 20% of the people, 10%, 5% of the people that are coming through. Maybe you're showing the wrong thing, or maybe you're demonstrating the wrong parts that's not applicable to your region. So, I mean, the exhibitor has a lot of responsibility in the game.
And to the types of people that you do bring to the show.
From a customer, from an exhibitor.
From
standpoint?
An exhibitor standpoint, yeah. I mean, that matters. Or do you have people that are just standing in the booth, just being there, just to be there, or do you have people who are actively trying to get in front of someone as they're walking by and trying to show what they're doing and have
I'm sure
brochures?
all the builders, all the OEMs, or anybody that's displaying products at a show, especially like IMTS, it's a tough decision to make because you want the fewest number of capable people in your booth, right? So you don't want to clog it up. You want to have people there that can answer the customer's questions and take the right notes, tie them back to that lead so that all the proper backside stuff can be done. But you also want to engage other people in your company. You want them to come. You want them to have a little bit of a field trip too. And I mean, everybody goes through it in our industry. But I mean, I think the number one focus for us and most people is just to have the right people there that can answer the questions and not be too overbearing with the customer with too many salespeople. What bothers me the most is you go into some booths and it's all the salespeople. If I was the customer, it's like that's like walking into a shark space. I would just pass and come in early or come in late when nobody's there. If I really wanted to learn something. So yeah.
So bring it up in the customer side. So we talked about responsibility, obviously, of the exhibitor. Things that are important, things that can help make it a positive trade show for them and make it worth their time and their value. Attendee side. What's the responsibility, in your opinion, of the attendees and the customers that are coming up to the shows?
Well, I think you gotta, like I said earlier, I mean, most customers, because of cost, because of just everything is so lean and you can't really afford to send everybody, you gotta be conscientious of who you're sending. I mean, if I think if most customers kind of look at, hey, I've got an issue in our parts cleaning area right now, for an example. Who's the guy that's heading up that area that can go and seek out cleaning technologies to kind of solve a problem that the customer is dealing with. Maybe it's on the machining side. Maybe it's on we got to get cost out of the processing this part. We got to get cost out of it. We got to try to make it complete. So you got to kind of look, if you're a customer, you got to look at where you're struggling, maybe what type of jobs you're looking at, and you don't have equipment to win the business. So take those examples, go to the show and educate yourself. So when you get that print package from your customer, you can say, hey, I was in Chicago, or I was at Hughes-Tech or South-Tech or wherever you were at, and I saw some technology that could drop this off complete. So I think that's the key. It's no, if you can afford to send a crew for education. Where else are you going to get more educated? I mean, like Chicago. I mean, that's what I was saying. Everybody used to do that. They don't do it as much anymore. I think it's primarily because of cost and everybody's so lean. But if you can send people. But if you can't, you got to send your specialists where you can get the most bang for the buck.
Well, and I mean, if you're sending higher quality individuals or higher up people or people that are specific to a process you're trying to improve, and then you match it with the responsibility on the other side of the exhibitor, making sure that they have the right booth and they're attracting the right people, it's a perfect valuable thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I do want to bring up that we talked about earlier was a lot of people, when they view trade shows, they kind of view them really short term versus seeing the long term of the contacts or the leads that they might bring in. I know we have some examples of that. Would you want to touch on any of them, maybe from PMTS or IMTS?
PMTS, that's one that we go to every other year. We have since it was down in Columbus. There's been a handful of shows that all of us sit around scratching our heads wondering, why did we go do this?
Yeah.
You got a lot of effort. It's a reasonably priced show to attend, so we like to do it. It's in our region, so it's a lot of our customers But the last couple of shows we did. We scratched our heads and said, should we do this again? This year, everybody's hired a kite on PMTS because we ended up finding a couple brand new customers and already closed large automation jobs around that. And we're all anxious for PMTS in 2027 now.
Yeah. I think the
So-
other thing too with that is even if we go to a show like on the ones that we might scratch our heads on, there also are companies there that maybe we've been trying to knock on their doors and get in that we haven't been able to, but they
Oh.
pass by and everybody's staring at everyone's name cards trying to that company, and maybe you at least get some type of face-to-face interaction and you at least get the contact information. That's a win. It might not be a win that contributes to the cost side,
Or
but
an immediate order that could be
Right.
attached to an ROI. I mean, if you're going to look for a solid ROI in a trade show, you might as well
forget it.
go do something else. I mean, that's not the objective unless you really track things well. I mean, because to your point, you meet somebody and it happens a lot. And 8 months from then, the phone rings and he says, "Hey, I met you in Cleveland." Since we're talking about PMTS, I met you in Cleveland at the show, and you guys are in automation, right? Or you guys are the Zagar people now, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you got a project, and 12
boom.
months later, you're working on something and hopefully closing it. So.
That's an example of looking at it more long term as well. So
Yeah,
just tying all that
you
back.
got to look at it long term. You
Yeah.
got to look at it long term. You got to look at making sure you have the right equipment for the region, so that the customers are really like you have alignment there, and you got to look at it as capturing those leads, and then it's what you do with the leads.
Well, that could be a whole other episode.
That's a whole nother
That's a
episode.
whole
But you
nother
just don't
episode.
get the leads and say I got 100 leads and none of them showed up. I mean,
Right.
you now have to execute. That's the backside of the show. You've got to go out and get in front of those people again. You got to use that 5-minute, 10-minute conversation that you had at the show as a platform to then get into that customer.
Yeah.
Get on that customer's floor. Now you're on their floor, and maybe you were talking about automation. You come out talking about a Mazak or a Hydromat or something else. So I mean, if you really, that's more of the responsibility of
The
exhibitors
exhibitor, yeah.
to take the leads and cultivate them and work them and have quarterly meetings about them and don't just discard them because they're not buying something right now or they
Right.
didn't return a phone call. Put them in a marketing campaign, a drip campaign. Keep your name in front of them. That's all goes into the ultimate ROI of a trade show, and you're that's what your question is. That's why you got to stay consistent. You got to look short, medium, and long
And
term.
long. Well, and that, because we're kind of really building up the value and why trade shows are so valuable, that is another way, like you said, that exhibitors can bring more value to the cost that they invest into the show. Not only are they there, they have a good booth, just reviewing some of the items we already said, have a good booth, sending the right people, having the right, showing the right process, bringing the right parts. But now what are you doing after the fact to make sure that the leads or any connections that you would have made convert over into some type of lead? I mean, I know everyone here knows the cost of trade shows. You know what you have to sell to make up for those costs, and especially at the local level, at a PMTS or a South Tech, the costs aren't quite as high. So if you get 50 leads from the show, you should have some type of process on the back end when you get back to the office to be able to make one of those leads turn into something.
For sure.
And then boom, it's worth it. Right?
For
So
sure. I mean, I still look at IMTS 2020 leads, not 2020, 2022 leads.
yeah.
In 24, I have them on the computer, and I'm constantly going back and looking at them and trying to see if what can be
What
what can
value.
align today that maybe didn't align then. We got different lines, different types of equipment,
Sure.
things like that.
So now moving from that into kind of maybe the negative side of trade shows. And it's not really the negative side, it's more so what about, let's say for a company, you're going to a trade show, you make the decision that you're not going to do trade shows anymore.
Oh yeah, us sales guys are like vultures. That means you're going out of business.
Yeah.
That's when you run around the show and say, "Where's this company? They must be struggling." Those are really, really tough decisions to make if you're a legacy company name in our industry and you decide to not go.
Yeah.
And we had that post-COVID. We had people, IMTS-wise,
Sure.
that decided to bail out. They all had their own reasons, and most of them weren't that they were struggling companies. But, that's a big decision. We went through something a little
Yep.
bit with our good partner Hydromat over that. And Hydromat's actually a good example.
They are a good example.
And so would Ultratech. So would we on the Ultratech side. We used to exhibit on the Ultratech side. We'd take in these big 3-axis specialized modules and but the problem is you're really looking for a needle in the haystack there, because there's maybe 2% of the people walking through the show might be interested in what you're doing. You get one, yay, everybody's, you paid for the show and it's great. Hydromat, if you're in a niche world, and Hydromat is considered to be a niche machine, medium, high volume type stuff, and they're very strong in the industry, and their sales organization is on top of the customer base more so than anybody else. How do you justify the 7 figures to go in there at the show anymore, at an IMTS?
Yeah,
with machinery.
Right.
So they decided a couple years ago not to attend and do kind of a customer appreciation casino night at a rooftop bar instead. All of our customers, in Chicago, all of our customers still come. They appreciate it. But I think the niche, if you're in a niche market and you can't really, I'd say, have a piece of equipment or services or whatever you're doing that can be a fit for at least 30% of the attendees, probably doesn't make sense to go.
No, I would say.
And it hurts to say. I mean, it hurt me when Hydromat said, that was great. Hydromat booth was fantastic.
Yeah.
We get to see all the customers, but we're seeing the customers on a monthly basis, weekly basis anyway, and there's just not a lot of new people that pop up that say they want a Hydromat machine to start making high volume parts. So
well, I mean, like you said, it's a niche market, right? So
it's a niche market.
It's not
and we on the Ultratech side, the same thing. Now, regional shows like pop-up booths, things like that are targeted in certain areas where there's a customer base, and maybe you can go down to the 15-10% of the people, of the attendees are reasonable targets and still justify it. But Chicago's a tough one.
It's a tough one, and that's where kind of rolling into open houses, where maybe an open house would be better for. I mean, open houses are great for not only niche. Industries, but for other industries. And a lot of people, is it better to have an open house? Is it better to go to a trade show? Do I have to pick? Whatever. So why don't we talk about the pros, starting with the pros of open houses?
Yeah, I think everybody listening, the first thing they're going to think is it's a captive audience, and it is, and that's the biggest plus, right? When you invite people to your house, you leave an impression. When you invite people into our organization, you want to leave an impression. So I think the number one thing is it's captive. And a customer's mindset's also a little different, I see and think, when they're coming to your open house versus a neutral ground of a PMTS or an IMTS or a South Tech or whatever it might be. They know they're there in your place. They seem to be more respectful to the time. They seem to stay longer. If it's a well-structured event, you got lunch. It's just better conversations, longer, deeper conversations happen at our events and other people's events in their at their place.
Well, I feel like when you're going to a trade show, you're not really committing or saying that you're particularly interested. You're not, by going to a trade show, you could say that you're really not interested in any type of brand specifically, because
you could also just keep your head down
brands.
and not even talk to anybody.
Right.
I mean, but they don't do that when they come to your house.
Right. And if they come to a trade show, or not a trade show, sorry, if they come to your open house, they know who you are, or they want to familiarize themselves with you.
Yep.
They know the brands that you offer.
They drove to your place.
Right.
They know the people mostly. They should.
They should.
know the employees, and they just open up more, and it's more. The problem is you can't get as many people.
Sure. I mean, where you may have. Well, hold on. Let's talk about that, though, because and I'm just going to play devil's advocate because I know people behind the screen might be thinking the same thing. Let's say you're a distribution company versus Ultratech. Okay, so let's take like Mach and Lane, Kratz and Saunders. For those who don't know, those are HEH Group's distribution companies, and then Ultratech. Ultratech, we could do something in Texas if we wanted to, right? But for Kratz and Mach, we're bound to our territories. So let's take South Tech, because that's going to be coming up. For example, Kratz, we cover the North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Let's just use Mazak, for example. We have an open house. it doesn't really matter if we have we're not going to get 5,000 people at our open house. I mean, sure, we would love to, but those 5,000 people are probably not going to be coming from those areas versus if we go to South Tech, we might get to interact with 10, 15,000 people, but are half of those out of our sales territory.
Yeah, well, I don't think the South Tech numbers are that big.
No, I don't think they are.
I think they are 5 or 6 or something thousand. But I think you do get to, if you've done the responsibility as the exhibitor and you're going to South Tech, us as Kratz and Saunders, and our booth is done right, and we've got the right type of parts that fit that type of region, you're probably going to get opportunities to talk to more customers than you are having your open house.
Yeah.
Will they be as intimate conversations? Probably not, because it's a trade show environment.
Sure,
they've got to go. They got to go meet this guy for lunch. They don't need to talk to you. They can come by and poke their head in the screen and look. But when they come to your place, they're much more open. They can't. They don't walk into your shop and just not talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? They get their name badge. They get welcomed. They talk to the apps guys. They talk to the sales guys. It's just. Personally, I think the open houses are awesome. I mean,
I love our open houses.
And we do a great job at it. So do a lot of others. But I think some people would say that's the future. I think they have to be on a dual path. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of the trade shows.
The trade shows.
I really don't. People talk about it. I mean, it's a lot of
either.
expense. You're moving machines in and out. You're doing all this stuff, but the value's there. The value's there if everything we've talked about is in line.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, I almost feel like because people want to compare them as in, oh, should we do this or this? It's almost like, well, why don't you got to find a way to do both because it does create such a different environment for both. You go to a South Tech, you show the right stuff, everything like we're saying. You might make new contacts, drum up new projects. You have people at your open house. Those are going to be a lot more existing customers, more people who know who you are. You may not have new companies coming in quite as much. Of course, I know that we did this year for our Machining Masters Open and for our upcoming Pigskin Kickoff, but you're just getting different exposures from each one. So, really, is the question: is it either or is it find a way to do both?
I think it's find a way to do both. And while you were talking, I was just thinking of like the Mazak Discover event.
Yeah,
it's not just your machine tools that you're showing it's just your machine tools you're showing at a show. Mm-hmm. When you walk into the plants in Florence, Kentucky, you're seeing 1 million square feet of technology. Mm-hmm. You're seeing $90+ million of automated spare parts with a 97% same day ship rate. You're seeing I think 18 or 20 machines under power cutting metal on very feature-rich parts.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get that at a trade show.
No.
Now that's on an extreme. That's Mazak.
Sure.
But hey, we try to do that in a miniature way at our place. Hydromat does a great job with their Oktoberfest every other year in St. Louis, where you get to see the organization. And as we've talked about, the organization behind what you're selling or what you're doing is equally as important as the iron.
So then, with the whole conversation, so now we talked about the pros of the open houses. What about hitting on a couple negatives of the open houses? I mean, is there
negatives on an open house? No, I mean, if you're the person hosting, it's just it's in your mind saying the distraction of preparation, execution, hosting, and follow-up is worth the expense. So
yeah.
I don't think there's a negative side. You just gotta, like a trade show, you gotta do it right.
Yeah.
If you don't do it well, they won't come back.
And you want them. We've talked about they want it on their calendar.
Yeah. If they come and they say, hey, they had 3 machines under power, there was no organization, there was no message, there was no educational speakers, there was no work holding or CAD cam or any. I didn't learn anything. I just kind of drove over there and ate a sandwich and looked at, 3 or 4 machines. Yeah. A couple of them running dry. I mean, that doesn't. That's there'd be a big downside for that because people will draw the conclusion that you're not a good partner for them.
Well, that's a good point though. Even though there's not a downside to having people in your facility and holding the open houses, but the downside is the downside could be lack of resources and preparation for the event. If you don't have the right resources, that you're not going to be putting on a great event, then maybe just stick to trade shows. But if you do have the resources to be able to plan and get the right equipment in and do all those things and market and have your sales guys and women go out there to get people at the event, then that's obviously going to yield to a higher event
yeah.
versus on a trade show. The marketing is kind of done by the trade show. So you just got to make sure that you have, the person that's going to be in charge of drayage and getting the stuff there and the booth layout, but you don't have to really do as much marketing or any of the other sales resources that might get pulled in. So there's another difference too.
Yeah.
Well, I think we kind of nailed it all. So I'm going to, the final $1 million question from Willie Eichley's perspective. Are trade shows worth it?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how much my perspective is worth, but absolutely. I think trade shows are here to stay, contrary to what a lot of people think. I think the open houses are going to continue to get bigger and stronger, and I think it's just a great opportunity to interact with customers and show off your wares and earn business. So yes, it's worth it.
There's one more thing I do want to touch on, and the only reason I bring this up because we brought it up the other day, and this is more a message to our customers, message to the job shops and manufacturers about the value about coming to trade shows, coming to open houses, and it's not just a sales pitch on, hey, we want to get you in the door. Can you talk about the value and the time that we put in to really put on an educational targeted event for our customers?
What's involved on our end?
Well, more so why it's not just, we talked about it on our sales call the other day, talking about don't just tell the customers, hey, just come to do me a favor, come because you're going to learn something, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, if the way we do them, I don't know how everybody else does them, but we host these events for the benefit of the customer.
Yeah.
We are trying to provide an education to the customer on, as I've said, cutting tools, CAD/CAM systems, work holding, machine tools, metrology, automation. We have keynote speakers on very key things that the market is hot for, if it be automation, automated inspection, marketing tips and tricks that a small shop could implement at no cost to try to get themselves some more exposure. We put all of our efforts are in line with trying to accommodate the customers and teach them through an educational open house, something that they can take back to their shops and win with and solve a problem with.
All right, well, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
I think we wrapped it all up. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, share it with somebody in the industry, and we'll see you next time.